Here's my suitcase. This is what I would have wore today had there just been one flight that goes into Chicago, and not a flight that goes into Chicago Wednesday, or not a flight that goes into Chicago that's $1,000 now. I searched all night. I haven't slept. I am devastated. I'm lost for words. It's disappointing. I took the entire week off. My trip's ruined. There's a bigger connotation to what this all means, and I was looking forward to it, so there's literally nothing I can do. I've searched every angle. Now my trip's ruined. There's literally nothing I can do. Bigger connotation to what this all means, but my trip's ruined. It's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am nowhere near Chicago, nor am I anywhere near Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'm currently sitting by the door here at the TV studio, staring at my suitcase in what would have been a 10 p.m. flight last night, 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, out of Sky Harbor Airport, Phoenix, Arizona, landing in Chicago this morning at 8 a.m. A little over 2 hours before my flight was to take off. A message came of your flight now is disrupted, which is the new term for cancellation. Just like pre-owned is the new word for used. Nothing's used anymore. Everything's pre-owned. Spirit, perfectly known airline. You can't go anywhere without seeing one. And now I know why they call it Spirit, because they suck the spirit out of you. Then they just rip it to shreds, and then they just totally light it on fire with all your hopes, dreams, and aspirations. But they cancel. Then they allow you to choose the option of finding a connecting flight. Nothing unusual. This happens all the time. I've been there, done it. Usually, you can find a connecting flight easy within the same time frame. Or if it's a late night flight, the exact same flight you can catch the very next morning early, 5 a.m. So I thought I would do that. Now, the problem is there are no flights going to Chicago from Phoenix until the next following night, not even just hours later. So I would have had to have gotten a flight on late Monday night, arriving midday now on a Tuesday, which eats up over a day and a half. And so that was the only option. That was the only option, unless I wanted to fly Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever. I called the Spirit hotline, meaning I called India, and the woman was probably one of the dumbest human beings I've ever spoken to in my life. She literally said she found me a flight for July 21st, which now we were going back in time, unless she was talking about next year. So you can imagine how that phone call went. But I figured I'd try to bargain with her, see if there's any flights. And I got so frustrated, and Cagney told me to do this to try to call the operators. I got so frustrated, I said, no, is there a flight around Chicago? Can I fly into Detroit? Can I fly into Milwaukee? Anywhere. And nothing. There is a blackout on Monday for everything. And I went around the other airlines. No, there's something. No, there's no flights in there. There's flights that fly there Tuesday. There might be a non-stop flight to Chicago today, if you can find one, only for about $1,000. So you probably could fly to Paris or anywhere around Europe for the same amount of money, but to Chicago, you can fly there too for the same amount. The highest crime riddled city in the country. You got to pay to come there. So this is happening. I stayed up all night looking around, even looked at Greyhound, everything I could find. I even thought, I was so delirious, I bought a ticket. I bought another ticket to fly to O'Hare. And I said, okay, it's a steal. Because at this point, when I came back, I'm like, okay, I'll get that flight, the late Monday night flight. No longer available. And that one will probably get canceled again tonight. So I looked everywhere. I even looked at Greyhound buses, and it's like a 48-hour drive. This is at a time now where just 7 days ago, at the same airport in Phoenix, over 150 flights were disrupted.
Sky Harbor, flights put on hold for about an hour. And look at all those delays. Live at the airport for us in Jordan, this certainly tested the patience of travelers today.
Yeah, it also showed an illustration just how fragile sometimes airport operations can be. About 150 flights that were delayed, and we heard from the FAA, and it was a ground stop. The FAA told us that there was a telecommunications issue at the Albuquerque Center in New Mexico that affected Sky Harbor.
Then 4 weeks ago, it was close to 500 flights disrupted. Friends of mine flying into Colorado for a huge graduation and family function had to cancel the whole thing. They couldn't even make it. And this seems to be a consistent thing. They didn't have any reason to rhyme. Why? When I was in California, coming back to Arizona earlier in the year, my flight got canceled as well. No reason given. Nobody knew why, but we kind of understood what was happening. Now, the reason given for this one, they say, well, it's the weather. Whose weather's bad? Is it Orlando? That was my layover. Is it Chicago? Is it the Phoenix area? FAA didn't say anything. Isn't that interesting? Said nothing. They weren't very specific. We have tornadoes in Colorado Springs, I just found out. Tornadoes in Colorado Springs. When I look deeper into it, you have Pete Buttplug, who is now the head of the U.S. Transportation Security Administration, the wonderful TSA. What a better face to put on that bunch than Mr. Pete Buttplug. So Pete Buttplug made a statement just last weekend after this same scenario thwarted everybody's travel plans across the nation. He said,
if an airline is knowingly flying an unrealistic schedule, there are going to be consequences.
You see? Well, airlines have had very unrealistic schedules for a long time, but why now? So one of the excuses when weather's not a factor is they're saying over 32,000 mechanics and other flight industry technicians, pilots, everything rolled in together are not available. Well, is that because a lot of them were fired because they didn't want to take miracle jabs? And also many of them are no longer here or maimed, pilots, etc. There's two other factors. Well, one of the factors, too, they're trying to end and take down the airline industry because you have the CEOs of all the big airlines pointing the fingers at FAA. Well, it would make all the sense, wouldn't it? To take down travel, make it very difficult, up the cost. The other part is the military operations. So when my flight got canceled in January, I couldn't fly back. They were searching for dirty bombs, but the contact said, yes, they weren't. And there is some sort of transitioning of power, COG involved. Unusual weather. We have the military movement that really accelerated and started to make a footprint. Around the same time, the garage water heater went missing. So there it is. We know they were in Northern California making their moves, as well as Idaho, and beefing up at the border. Wow, what a distraction. New intel is joint U.S.-Australian Special Forces joint military drills are happening in Australia at the northern part of the island area. Now, there's two ways to look at that as well. Is that because of a pending Taiwanese invasion by China? Is it because of a pending insurrection, which is needed for Australia, but also a pending insurrection in the major United States cities around America? This is all happening. The anomalies are stunning, from all of the credit cards of Cagney being canceled, fraud alert, never before happened. The wire transfer from 32 to Cindy that was completed months ago was now returned and null and voided by the U.S. Bank. No reason given and no warning, too. And also all the anomalies just going into this, from the Fetzer heart attack to the surgery to the Cindy's bone spur to her husband Lamar's ruptured bones to my car being stolen, all accelerated as of last Monday when I had the victim and the lawyers representing the targeted individuals. So that's when some weird things happen. The wire transfer thing, the credit cards, and here we are. My flight's canceled. I can't seem to find a flight out of a major U.S. city going into another U.S. major city. This is what's going on. This is an operation happening. On who? On what? It's hard to pinpoint, but something definitely is underway.